Biodiversity Conservation Foundation is an organization working towards conservation based on holistic approaches. It has started its contributions to nature conservation more than 2 decades by integrating indigenous knowledge with our own lifestyle. For instance, throwing grains in our backyard helps birds like house sparrow and other birds. This simple action not only drives the birds but also the ants, the best known ecosystem engineers of nature. So through this way, we headed towards providing all necessities for few of our neighborhood species, which later blossomed as reaching diversified species and conserving them. So as a fact, we are on the road of conservation with a holistic approach to it. And today, I'm glad that we are blessed to work with you in this virtual platform to enable conservation even in this scenario. I'm really privileged to introduce today's speaker, Dr. N. Baskaran, who is currently working as an assistant professor, Department of Zoology and Wildlife Biology in A.V.C. College, Mailadurai. He also has contributed to the conservation of Asian elephants by being a member of International Union for the Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources, we know as IUCN, specifically in Species Survival Commission from 2002, and he is also holding one of the prestigious position of consultant conservation scientist at the Asian Nature Conservation Foundation, the Center for Ecological Sciences in Indian Institute of Sciences, Bangalore, which is being considered one of the promising center in conservation research. Adding to the list, he was teaching for more than 10 years and he has published more than 140 papers in international and national journals. I'm glad to welcome you, sir, for today's webinar on Asian elephants. Now, the mic is yours, sir. Once again, welcome you, sir.
My talk is going to be on Asian elephants, how Asian elephants are presently conserved in India, and how the role of cultural role helping conserving Asian elephant. So before starting actually on Asian elephant, I'm just having a comparative view with the African elephants. African elephants are much larger in size as well as population and its area or habitat. So African elephants, what we have right now is about 5 lakhs elephants over 50,000 square kilometer area. Whereas Asian elephants, 50,000 elephants in 5 lakhs square kilometer. Therefore, Asian elephant is much smaller in population, habitat, as well as morphologically they are small. So the current distribution, distribution of Asian elephants in the past and present. In the past, it was distributed from Tigris of Euphrates basin eastward throughout the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia and to North Yangtze River in China. Up to this, the entire range, once upon a time, the elephants were roaming around, Asian elephants. The current distribution is is patchy. The dark gray, black spots are the current distribution. Once upon a time, it was having much larger distribution. Today, its distribution is shrunken into bits and pieces. So this is the global population. There are 13 Asian countries whereby Asian elephants are distributed. Current population is about 30 to 50,000 square kilometer. 30 to 50,000 elephants. And in the wild, apart from that, we also do have 12 to 13,000 elephants in captivity. Present status of Asian elephant is the endangered species as per the IUCN. Among all the countries, India holds the largest population. 24,000 to 32,000 elephants are found in India, and India shares 60% of the total population of Asian elephants. So coming to Asian elephants in India, actually the distribution is again fragmented into 4 distinct regions. what we have is that northeast and then northwest, the eastern central and southern India. So these are the four different regions whereby the wild population are distributed. Apart from that, we do have a small feral population in Andaman. So all the wild population are mostly distributed in the three major Ghats or mountains, what we say Himalayas, Eastern and Western Ghats. So most of the habitat that were in the plain area been converted, and therefore today the population of Asian elephants in India also are no distant. There are about 30,000 elephants, but as per the 2017 Project Elephant synchronized elephant census, the projected figure is 29,964 elephants. Apart from that, we also do have captive elephants about 3,400 to 3,600. And this is a regional population. Northeast about 10,000 elephants, northwest 2,000 elephants, eastern India 3,000 elephants, southern India 14,000 elephants. So put together 29,000 or 30,000 elephants. Over the years, from 1993, since the inception of Project Elephant, there are synchronous elephant census are taking place. The figures are showing an increasing trend from 25,000 to nearly 30,000 elephants. But there are also other addition to that. In the past, unlike the present, there are some areas which were not covered. In the present time, most of the elephant habitats are also covered, which could also be contributing to the increased number. Here in female population, elephant population, female are the head of this one team. Members of the group split often, and therefore group size cannot be used to identify herds. There is no herd or clan will break into a bond group or a family unit, depends on resources. Normally, resources are plenty during the rainy season and lower during the dry season. So you find a smaller herd size during the dry season and larger group size during the rainy season. However, during the dry season, when they move towards water, they all joins together and using infrasonic sound system, and then go to take drink water and take rest. At those times when resources are not or in crisis, they join. But food resources during the summer is very limited, and therefore when they are into feeding, they split into smaller unit as a family unit or bond group. Mean group size is larger during the wet season than dry season to avoid competition within the herd members. Female mostly remain with their maternal, natal or maternal herd through their life. So females will not disperse away from the maternal herd. Maternal herd is nothing but the herd in which born brought. The herd is always comprised of related adult females and their offspring of both the sexes. Unrelated individuals is not permitted in any clan. You cannot just like that introduce one female from some other clan. No clan in the wild will accept other individuals. Even if it is a calf, it doesn't accept. So this is what the group size variation in different seasons. So you may see the darker lines of the dry season, you find mostly a smaller herd size during the dry season, but the larger herd size you can see during the wet season up to 27, 30. Those are all during the wet season. You can see very often. This is the frequency of different herd size in different seasons. So coming back to the males around 10 to 15 years, they reach the puberty. If the maternal gradually, they don't immediately take off, gradually a couple of hours and then come back and join, or go for 1 or 2 days and then come back and join, go for 1 week and then come back and join. Like that, it gradually takes off from the maternal herd, and afterwards, go for a solitary life. At times, they also, when they lead a solitary life, they also form a bachelor herd. That is what you can see often. 2-3 subadult males or young males together. Adolescent males disperse from maternal herd, settle down away from the maternal range to avoid breeding. When a male disperses away from the maternal herd, it has to avoid its related members, and therefore it settles down completely in a new area, and therefore breeding with related individuals are avoided. If no habitat is available, then they are forced to settle down in the same area, whereby the males are going to breed with related females, and that is not going to be good for the long-term survival of the population. Therefore, the maternal, the characteristic feature of the male is that it requires a large area to avoid breeding. Thus, large population range or corridor, at least the male to disperse away from the maternal range, corridor are needed so that inbreeding can be avoided. Just a couple of points regarding the male. Although males reaches the maturity around the age of 15, they come into a state called must, which is linked with the reproductive state. Annually once, or some of the males even come into must twice annum. Only around 25 to 30 years, between 25 to 30, around 30 years, they start coming into must regularly on an annual basis. And some males come into must even couple of times. It all depends on how good the body condition. When a male obtain adequate resources or adequate nutrition and reaches the peak body condition, it comes into must. As they run into must, they spend very less time for feeding and mostly in search of females in heat, and therefore they they spend very less time for feeding. Depends on body condition. Some male may be in must for about 15 days or 1 month. Some male may even go up to 3 months time. It is all depends on the body condition of the male, which matters for coming into must periodically and remain in must long term, so that they can come across more number of females in heat, and therefore they can produce more number of offspring. So in a polygynous species, the male which produces more number of offspring are the most successful. Unlike females, males do not get opportunity. Not all the males get an equal opportunity. Unlike the female gets all females produces in a population, in a polygynous population, whereas in male do not get, not all the males will get equal opportunity, and therefore it is all matter how the animal or how the individual keeping its body condition what matters for its reproductive success. So slightly I'm touching upon the ranging, which is very, very essential for conservation purpose. Clans and bull range, and no wonder it's taking place. Although elephants are ranging over larger forest area, every clan and every bull has its own home within which they restrict. They don't simply wander all over the forested area. Home ranges are smaller in undisturbed or optimal habitat than disturbed suboptimal habitat. I have shown 3 different home ranges in the map on the left hand side. There are 2 that are overlapping extensively. Those are the 2 different clans that were radio tagged during 1991 and monitored up to 1995. They were mostly ranging in Bandipur, Wayanad, Mudumalai, and partly into Nilgiri North Forest Division. Whereas the third clan was mostly ranging in Nilgiri North Division, partly in Satyamangalam, and partly in Coimbatore. So this particular clan mostly uses the low rainfall, disturbed habitat, and therefore it had much bigger range compared to the other 2 clan which was operating in the optimal medium rainfall, Mudumalai, Bandipur, Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary. So those are the deciduous tract with a high biomass of grass, and therefore these 2 clans had a smaller home range, about 600 square kilometer, whereas the third clan, which ranged in the eastern side, had a much bigger range, over 1,200 square kilometer. So in general, not only in southern India, even elephants in northeast India, where I have no radio tracked again in northern West Bengal, female herds, you can see there is one female herd on the left hand side, which is on the western side, where the large fragmented habitat. There are other females that range in the central area, and some of them on the eastern area. So the female herds that ranged in the intact area of northern Bengal, which is Baksa Tiger Reserve and Gandavara, had smaller ham ranges compared to the herd that ranged in the east western side in the fragmented landscape. This is over 1,200 square kilometer, whereas this is all about around 600 or 250 to 600 square kilometer. Therefore, elephants have a larger home range in disturbed or fragmented habitat, and a smaller home range in undisturbed or optimal habitat. So it depends on the habitat quality, the home range size varies. This is male. Unlike a female herd, or unlike the clan, males do not require large area for feeding. However, they range over large area during the must period. So during non-must period, they restrict in a smaller area, go on, build up the body condition. Once their body condition reaches the highest quality, then they come into must. By then they shoot up their range and move extensively in search of females. And therefore, unlike female herds which range in large area, males do not range in larger area during the non-breeding season or non-must season. Must season only they range in a larger area. So female movement is influenced by resources, rainfall and other resources, whereas male movement is always influenced by the female distribution or female clan distribution. So when we study the home range of elephants over several years, we get to know that elephant clans show strong fidelity to their home in the seasonal range as well as corridor. Fidelity is nothing but they tend to restrict in the same area. They don't simply move all over the forested habitat, what I earlier said. They have a fixed home within which they move around. So therefore, they show very strong fidelity to their home or loyalty to their home. Overall home range is fidelity to their overall home range and the seasonal range also. So this particular clan, which is now shown on the right hand side top, one of the female clan that I have studied during 1991 and 1995, in 3 different years when we looked at, she was ranging in the same area, but during the western part of the area was used during the southwest monsoon time, and the eastern part of the range they used during the northeast monsoon time, the central area during the dry season. So therefore, every year over the 5 years when I looked at, every year you can see more or less the same clan in this, more or less in the same area. What kind of a calendar they follow, how do they track all this? Very difficult to understand all this, but they do have such a strong fidelity to their home. Clans also have social hierarchy and spacing. This is something that people may not aware, not all people may aware. Social hierarchy in the sense that not all the clans in a population, there are several herds are there in a population, not all of them are socially equal. There is hierarchy. Some of them are dominant, some of them are subdominant. Dominant one having prior access to better resources, and subdominant one depends on or always uses the suboptimal habitat. So it depends on their hierarchy in a population. Clan uses the resource. Clans, therefore, clans also have a social hierarchy and facing, and thus a given space is used by overlapping clans on a rotational basis. You cannot see 2 different herd members together in a given patch. How then in a population range there are so many clans operating? When you ask, they are all operating on a rotational basis. When clan 1 uses the area A, clan 2 uses the area B. When clan 2 moves to area C, the clan 2 moves to area 1. Like that, there is a rotational basis. It also depends on their hierarchy in the population. So dominant one always accesses the better resources, uses the better resources, or uses a given habitat in the right time, and therefore their reproductive success are far higher than the suboptimal population. This is all has lot of implications for conservation. Though resource in a given patch could support more than one clan, hierarchy among the clans results in spacing spacing without temporal overlap. So that means now a given patch cannot be used by two different clan members simply because there is a hierarchy, and therefore the dominant one when uses, the subdominant one uses another one. So therefore when we go on compress the habitat, the social stress will increase. The spacing mechanism cannot be expected when habitat gets compressed. Such behavior indicates the need for larger areas for the clan to range without social stress. Traditional codes, similarly, it has implication for corridors too, since they also show the strong fidelity to their corridors. Traditional corridors cannot be converted into human habitation and create elsewhere and expect the elephants to use. So just because a given corridor is needed for some other non-forest purpose, you cannot block that and create elsewhere and expect the elephants to use the other one instead of this. So this, which is not possible, because simply because they have been ranging over that area several traditions. As you all know, that elephants are a long living animal like a human being. It can live up to 60 years, and resource and knowledge about the resources they gain from several tradition. And the oldest females gets the knowledge about the resources, and therefore they stick to their home, they stick to their seasonal home, they stick to their seasonal the corridor, and therefore if the corridor gets cut off, there is going to be a conflict. So given this kind of a background about elephant body mass, the food requirement, the digestive capacity, the complex social behavior, with all that, conservation need a landscape level approach. Landscape level approach, conservation planning and management action is needed. But unfortunately, what happened in the past, due to lack of conservation planning at landscape level in the past, management action on elephant conservation was mostly restricted to protected area. As many of you all know that in India, we do have a protected area network, which are smaller patches in a larger forested ecosystem or larger forested landscape, and those whereby a lot of effort being put into conservation planning of endangered species. But elephant is a species not restricted to only the protected area, or their home is extending much beyond the protected area. As they are extending much beyond the protected area, their home and their entire home is not completely protected. PAs are smaller than the home range of elephants, elephant herd and bulls, and territorial forest division that form bulk of the landscape are not managed exclusively for conservation. So territorial forest division is about 60% of the area or 70% of the area in India comes under the territorial forest division, which is not exclusively protected for conservation purpose. It is also open to human activities. The protected area network like sanctuaries, national park, tiger reserves are exclusively meant for conservation. So therefore, the protected area network, which was focused around in the past, was not able to fulfill the needs of the elephant herd. And when the elephants are moving out of the protected area, their range is not protected. Their life is not, they are not, the males, especially males, are not protected. Insufficient protection. Most of the conservation activities are oriented around the protected area. When they move into the territorial area, there is not much of a conservation efforts being taken from male elephant getting poached, and therefore insufficient protection resulted in ivory poaching or male losing their life to the ivory poachers. And then, as I said, that protected territorial forest division are also open to human activities. Developmental activities also are part of the territorial forest division. So that kind of a development, unplanned developmental activities resulted in habitat loss and fragmentation that has affected again the home range or the life of the elephant. So then incomprehensive population data to predict the population trend. So as we all had the protected area network based conservation in the past, after the Wildlife Protection Act came into picture, most of the census been taken place only in the protected area like Sanctuary and National Park, and we have no idea about the population in territorial forest division, which is forming the bulk of the landscape or forested area. So as a result, when there is a lot of habitat fragmentation loss, agriculture and settlement, green revolution, people in India might know that there are different policy by government of India for developmental purpose of human population or economic improvement and things like that. So at one point in time, by 1960, India went for green revolution, and therefore large area of natural habitat converted into agriculture, especially the commercial plantation, like coffee, cardamom, or extensively planted, clearing the natural habitat, and settlements also were created because of this one. Especially the agriculture was giving much importance by the green revolution, which has converted a large tract of natural habitat into commercial plantation and forest plantation. And then apart from that, we also had highways, railway line, hydroelectric, irrigation project, reservoirs, all those fragmented or taken up some piece of land, resulting in habitat loss and fragmentation. So habitat degradation, although unlike the past, right now habitat loss and fragmentation to a large extent controlled, habitat degradation continue to exist due to overgrazing by cattle and firewood and MFP collection by people and weed proliferation. It is not only in India, throughout the world, developing countries facing the problem of overgrazing by cattle, firewood collection or MFP collection. So this is something that developing countries are unable to manage the situation, and India also having similar kind of a situation. So habitat degradation continue to exist in all the forested area or natural habitat of the elephants, whereby cattle enters and feed the fodder resources, and firewood being collected for human purpose. And these two activities resulting in weed proliferation, as we have more and more cattle are regularly entering and grazing the area, is left with weeds which are not palatable to herbivores, and the weed is gradually increasing over the years. And we also do have poaching, ivory poaching in the past, as our protection taken place mostly in the protected area like Sanctuary and National Park. Territorial division were not covered by anti-poaching activity. Poaching has not been controlled in the past. And then all these resulted in human-elephant conflict. As habitat loss or habitat fragmentation and habitat degradation takes place, conflict is inevitable. Conflict is expected to increase in relation to habitat loss and fragmentation. Therefore, over the years, human-elephant conflict has increased. Human casualty, crop depredation, property damage are the kind of a human-elephant conflict. Along with that, now elephant mortality, elephant injury also taken place. This is all the different kinds of disturbance to habitat. Like you see on the top of the hill, and the natural habitat being cleared for cultivation. And this is on the right hand side top is again a large tract of natural habitat in the Western Ghats and even in Eastern Himalayas, all been converted into tea plantation. And apart from that, we also do have developmental activities like hydro project and irrigation project, and then which has constructed large reservoirs with blocking the animal movement. We also do have the penstock pipeline cutting across the natural habitat, blocking the animal movement between the area. And we do have settlement rights inside the forest, whereby you have roads, roads coming from the town, and therefore such a small settlement in about 3 to 4 kilometer radius will completely degrade the habitat, because cattle and people from here will go up to 3 or 4 kilometer around. So if you have something like for one village at about 3 to 5 kilometer radius, the entire landscape will get degraded. So you have also cultivation which is going up the hillocks. And this is something slash and burn shifting cultivation, very popular in northeastern states of Assam or Arunachal, whereby people go for clearing the natural habitat, and after the green vegetation dries, the burn convert all the green vegetation into organic manure and go for cultivating in such a slash and burn area for about 4 years or 5 years. Afterwards, they go and occupy a new area. Like this, natural habitats of elephants being converted in a large scale, and therefore elephants are in a greater conflict. This is again tea estates in Western Ghats, which has taken place right inside the continuous habitat. Apart from tea estate, we also do have commercial forest plantation, monoculture plantation like eucalyptus or teak, which are not very much supportive of high density of elephants. That is also converted to the natural habitat. So again, hydroelectric irrigation dams, and then it is not only by the dam, suburbs of the area by the dam, the elephant habitat is lost. Elephant habitat also blocked by the canals created for the hydroelectric project. Animals are unable to, when you have that kind of a deep canal, no animal can cross. If some animal by accident get in, they will get trapped by falling inside. And such a big wide canal with either side paving cannot also be managed by elephants to cross through. So this is again a penstock pipeline blocking the natural habitat, another canal. Apart from hydroelectric project, then we do also have the eastern central region has got a lot of mineral resource which has been extensively exploited, and therefore quite a lot of natural habitat of elephants are getting lost due to mining activities. And this is again biotic pressure, whereby you have extensive area being grazed by scrap cattle. It is not only the cattle which go and graze, and the people also go behind, collect all the dung, and therefore apart from the natural, green fodder being harvested by cattle, when the cattle defecate, when they collect all the dung, the system is not getting recycled, and therefore over the years the habitat is becoming more and more degraded, and you can see the bunches of firewood collection by local people. And you do have other MFE like tamarind collection, bamboo collection, moss collection, and illegal smuggling of food. This is again the bamboo for this one basket spinning. So all these kind of biotic pressure reduces the degraded habitat over the years. So when a given habitat continuously exposed to biotic pressure, the habitat becomes more of poor quality or degraded habitat, whereby you don't see much of the vegetation growth, or only with some kind of weeds. So when biotic pressure increases, we also do have a weed proliferation, and much of the area in the Western Ghats are today facing a problem of Lantana camera, which is an exotic weed, which has taken away much of the space available for the indigenous species. And lantana, when they grow up to 3 meter height, and the forest fire which used to be at the ground level in the past, now it is going up to canopy level, and therefore burning intensity also increased over the years. So this is a typical habitat of elephant, natural habitat in northern West Bengal, northeastern India. As you see, the green patches are the forested area, and the light green portions are the tea estate and small scrub patches. So by and large, what happened all along the rivers that is coming from the Himalayan region, the development has gone along the river on either side of the river, and therefore once upon a time the contiguous forest which was there in the northern Bengal now fragmented into bits and pieces. What we have on the right hand side, the largest patch is Baskaran Tiger Reserve, which is about 640, around 700 square kilometers. That itself has got 2-3 patches, and then Jaldapara. This is what the intact habitat. After that, you have another smaller intact habitat here. But when elephants, much before the development taken place, probably elephants would have roamed all over. When the development takes place now, they are not able to sustain. And the elephants have the range of over 1,000 square kilometers. No forest area is stretching over 1,000 square kilometers to support the herd throughout the annum, throughout the year. And therefore, when the elephants are moving from one patch to another patch, en route they damage a lot of cultivation, settlement, and causes a lot of human-elephant conflict. This is what the typical situation. So in the process, both people as well as elephants are getting killed. So small, this one, here, hypothetical situation. Supposedly about 100 years back, the entire square was a forested area. But in the past, in the recent past, about 5 years back, or as of now, right now, when part of the area have been converted, say for example, only this hatched area remains as the forest, when the area on the top become a non-forest habitat due to some reason, the forest been converted into non-forest area, and we did had so many elephants ranging over in this area. So clan 1, clan 2, like that, there are 6 different clans whose home range been overlaid on this area. So once upon a time when the habitat was lost, there was no cultivation, or there was no cultivation, there was no conflict. Elephants were using this entire area fully. But in the very recently, when part of the area converted into non-forest, agriculture, say for example. Now, the clan 1, clan 2 has lost the entire home, and clan 1 has lost part of its home, and clan 6 has lost almost 90% of the home. As I said, that the clans have strong fidelity and also show spacing, hierarchy and spacing. Now, just because clan 2 has lost the entire home, cannot move towards this area. Simply because of the reason that there is no hierarchy, there are other clans operating, and the clan 2 now try to move towards the other areas, to the southern area, whereby already other clans are moving around, and they space us out in such a way that they don't overlap with other clans on time. This clan 2 cannot disperse or move towards the southern side into the natural forest where available. And similarly, because this clan 2 has to look for some other newer area, newer forest area without elephant, or newer forest with low density of elephants. Come into clan 6, which has got only 10% of the area, remaining 90% is lost. Whether this clan continue to remain in this 10% of the area, sustain itself, when you ask, the question is that it cannot. Because 90% of the area is lost, in 10% of the home only is intact, it cannot hang on to the 10% of the area without overlapping in time with other clans. And therefore, clan 6 also has to look for a new area. How about the clan 1, which has lost 50% of the area, remaining 50% of the area is intact, means there is a chance that this particular clan would go back and continue to use the non-forested area. So in which scenario, this elephant clan, the clan 1 also is going to indulge with the human-elephant conflict or raid the crop. And therefore, clan 1 will stay back and partly sustain itself with agriculture crop. Clan 4 and 5, clan 4 and 3, which has not lost a major part of life and home, will not get into human habitat because 90% of the home is intact. So therefore, this is without causing any conflict. They may continue to stay here. Because clan 2 and clan 6 cannot continue to live in this place, and these two clans have to look for a new place whereby no elephant is there, or no elephant is habitated, or habitat with no elephant. So that is what happening. When significant portion of the home is lost to development, affected herd stay or wander in search of a newer habitat without or with no elephant that may or may not exist. You cannot have, after a landscape, immediately after the landscape, another landscape for elephant to settle down without elephant. There also there are elephants or with with no elephant, but habitat is a very poor quality. And therefore, what is happening? You find a lot of area from, especially the either from one tip of the landscape, elephants are staying into a newer area. Elephants from Bihar to Madhya Pradesh, approximately 46 people killed, herd captured. And similarly, elephants from Bihar move into southern Bengal and coming back to Bihar. Spend about 3 months or 4 months in Bihar, remaining 6 to 8 months it spent in southern Bengal and comes back. So en route it causes severe conflict. Similarly, in Karnataka, elephants Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, where from Banagata and Hosur, elephants from this region moved into Andhra Pradesh. When they moved into Andhra Pradesh, killed so many people, settled in a degraded area without elephant, but that degraded area unable to sustain, and the elephants settled in a newer habitat, unable to sustain itself within the area available, and therefore this herd even today, partly sustaining it, the agriculture crop which are there in the adjoining area. Similarly, you have elephants from Karnataka, northern Karnataka moved into Maharashtra and Goa. Some of the elephants stayed into Goa, being captured. Now there are few elephants that are there in Maharashtra. Maharashtra state also has got an elephant in the recent years, by around 7 or 8 years back. Some elephants went and settled down in Maharashtra. Elephants from southern Odisha to northern Andhra Pradesh. There are elephants which are from southern Odisha moving into northern Andhra Pradesh and going back. So whatever the scenario, the elephants when they move across human habitat looking for a new area with elephant which is unlikely, going past a lot of damage to the settlement, the people, and therefore human and conflict is going to increase. Similarly, if they settle down in a newer area which is not optimal habitat, they will probably sustain irrigation. So conflict is going to increase. Conflict cannot be contained when elephants are moving into suboptimal area. And this is what happened. 1986 elephant herd from Karnataka and Tamil Nadu border moving into Andhra Pradesh. And recently from Andhra Pradesh, some of the elephants moved towards the Vellore side. From there, they have been captured. 6 elephants being captured and brought to captivity. And these are again some elephants are at time going out of the Hosur division and coming back. So this is what becoming very common, especially when their home is getting more and more degraded or fragmented. They are unable to sustain. They are looking for new habitat. So in the state of moving between or looking for new places, they cause quite a lot of damage. And not only when they are looking for newer habitat, when fragmentation taking place, in between agriculture is there, means that they pass through. They still continue to use the same area, thinking that it is part of their resources, and cause a hell a lot of damage to the agriculture. Looking at a habitat fragmentation, this is what the scenario. Once upon a time, the entire area was the elephant habitat. Gradually, the central region being converted into non-forest, and therefore elephants that were using continuously moving across, they continue to use, and you can see wherever the fragments are higher, there are more conflict. Where intact forest is there, continue to be there, there are not much of a forest. This is what in Kodagu, northern, Karnataka, again Hosur and Bannerghatta. In a fragmented northern tip of the Hosur, you find a lot of human-elephant conflict, human casualty, crop damage, property damage. Where in southern part of the Hosur division, where the habitat is much intact, there are not much of a conflict. So that means wherever home is recently lost, animals are continue to use, and therefore conflict is increasing. Loss of traditional ranges result in human-elephant conflict. The degree of conflict increases with the degree of loss or fragmentation of the habitat. So therefore, house damage, human death over the years are increasing. This is one small data set from northern West Bengal, where about 500 elephants are ranging over 2,000 square kilometer between 1987 and 2005 killed 907, almost 900 people. So this is what the number of human mortality or human killed by elephants between 1987 and 2005. On an average, about 50 people are getting killed by 500 elephants ranging over 2,000 square kilometer. And not only this, hectares and hectares of crops are getting damaged simply because of the region. The northern Bengal habitat is highly fragmented habitat, and the elephants are unable to sustain, and therefore they are moving across. When they move across, they cause a lot of damage to the agriculture and the human life. So elephants also sometimes are shot by the farmers. When they try to chase the elephant which is in crop field, and the elephant try to attack the farmer, sometimes farmer also take a remedy to control or protect himself. He shoot the elephant. Such incident also taking place. So this indicates we need to plan for tomorrow's conflict requirement, not just deal with what is happening today. It should not be ad hoc basis. We need to have a long-term perspective. And over the years, there are going to be more chances of habitat getting reduced other than habitat getting increased, and therefore we need to go about what kind of a plan we are going to have. If this is a landscape which can support 10,000 elephants, that is what we can. If numbers are increasing, how are we going to deal? We need to have a solution. We need to have a management practice which can reduce the conflict. And elephants also, when they enter into the crop field, they get electrocuted by accident as well as deliberate. So several elephants are getting electrocuted. Apart from that, we also do have railway lines, so that is cutting across a forested area, taking a big toll of elephant casualty or elephant mortality. So this is a small case study coming from northern West Bengal, where 39 deaths by train during 50 years between 1958 and 2008. So in this 50 years time, 44 years with meter gauge lion, taken 29 deaths or killed 29 elephants, whereas 10 elephants were getting got killed by train in about 4 years. So that means broad gauge lion caused less mortality than the middle gauge lion caused less mortality than the broad gauge lion, simply because of the reason that broad gauge trains in the broad gauge runs much faster, and they are unable to see the elephants well in advance, and therefore number of elephants are going getting killed by broad gauge veedu. So you can see this one rate of death, number of deaths per year during 1958, 2000 broad meter gauge, and then before gauge conversion, after gauge conversion, it was about 0.8 or 0.7, and it has gone up to 2.3 or 2.4 elephant per year. That is the rate of increase. So you can see so many elephants. We did lose one of our radio-collared elephants being killed by a fast crossing train. Apart from that, we also do have, no, very rarely poisoning of elephants. Not much in India. Part of this one, no, Southeast Asia, or no, close to the border of the Burma, in this one Northeastern states. So very rarely the poisoning also taking place. And we also do have other problem of ivory poaching, which was extensive in the past, and to a large extent being controlled now. So ivory poaching, as you all know that female elephants, female Asian elephants do not carry tusk, unlike the African elephants. Male alone carry the tusk, and selective removal of males for ivory is skewing the sex ratio. We do also have males without tusk called makna, whose proportion is very less in southern India compared to northeast or Sri Lanka. Northeast India, 70% of the males are tuskless, and Sri Lanka, 95% of the males are tuskless. Whereas southern India, it is just the other way around. 70 to 95% of the males are with the tusk. We do have a very small proportion of elephants without tusk in southern India. Female biased adult to sex ratio will have its own impact on the population. Population without poaching showing a sex ratio of 1:3. Polygynous species naturally biased towards female, because one male can mate with several female. Male and female number will not be equal in elephants. It is a polygynous species, and the skew trend decreases as there are more poaching in southern India compared to north. The skew is decreases from south to north, so you don't have much of a poaching in northern India or northeast India compared to southern India. So we have 1:25, one male for every 25 females in Mudumalai, and one male for every 100 females in Periyar, about 15 years or 20 years back. So the skew is higher the skew, more the inbreeding, and genetically not viable. If any population whereby inbreeding is taking place, it is not going to be viable on a long run, simply because of the genetic reasons. So therefore, realizing the wide-ranging nature of the species, need for landscape level approach, Government of India, especially the Government of India, Ministry of Environment and Forest, came out with a plan called the Elephant Project Elephant, which has declared actually elephant ranges in 1992, with 11 elephant ranges across India. And apart from elephant ranges, we also do have elephant reserves. The elephant ranges are bigger landscape, which is falling across multiple states, or 2 states at least, 2 or 3 states. If a given habitat is landscape is cutting across 3 different states or 2 different states, they are all declared as elephant ranges. So any elephant range can have again elephant reserve, which is again a habitat within a given state. So larger area is the range, and the smaller area is the reserve. Smaller area within a reserve, state. A larger area across the state, given landscape is elephant range. We have something like 11 elephant reserves across India, whereby Project Elephant has declared those areas as elephant reserve, elephant ranges. And these elephant ranges are given high priority in terms of protection, conservation at a landscape level. Southern India, out of the 11 elephant ranges, Southern India has got 4 elephant reserves, Nilgiri Eastern Ghats, Elephant Reserve 7 and Elephant Reserve 8. And then we have Nilgiri Eastern Ghats landscape range, this is actually, and then Anamalai, south of Palghat, the Anamalai elephant habitat, which goes up to Delhi, Ambadi, all those areas, which is elephant range number 9. And then south of Anamalai, you have Periyar Agastyamalai, which is elephant range number 10. So these are the 4 different ranges in southern India. Remaining 7 ranges in central India, northeast, northwest. So In these elephant reserves, what the elephant Project Elephant does now, conservation measures by Project Elephant, habitat consolidation, as we all know that no, habitat loss is a major problem. Habitat consolidation is taking place in wherever it is possible. Habitat consolidation through strengthening the corridor. If there are bottlenecks within the landscape, those kind of area are ensured, or those kind of area are identified and earmarked that it is a elephant corridor. This cannot be given for any kind of a development, and therefore strengthening the corridor area. Relocation of villages, especially if there are villages in the corridor area that are getting relocated, provided the people are interested in. And then awareness program about conflict, all those kind of a thing. Apart from that, we do also have Project Elephant playing a major role in human-elephant conflict. So when the affected people, was not secured with any kind of a food. Say for a poor farmer, his 10 cent of land is a whole life. For the 1 year he has to depend on. If an entire area overnight a herd of elephant comes, it damages the entire 10 cent of agriculture, and he has to starve without food. And therefore, such a situation will not give a conducive atmosphere for elephant conservation. So the Project Elephant gives the compensation. It is not actually a compensation, it is a ex gratia. Compensation is something that very difficult for any country to think of. Therefore, some kind of amount is paid for people to take care of themselves. Human casualty, compensation or ex gratia towards the human casualty, towards the crop damage, or towards the property damage. All those are given. And then apart from that, strengthening anti-poaching. As I said that Southern India experiences a higher poaching pressure in the past, and a lot of anti-poaching camps being established, and therefore poaching being controlled by and large nowadays. Anti-poaching camp. And then Project Elephant also conducting synchronized elephant census on once in 5 years time, and from which we get to know what is the population trend. These are the major initiatives, apart from some minor initiatives for the population in the wild as well as in captivation. So this is the kind of ex gratia payment. Although we try to reduce the human-elephant conflict, the ex gratia payment over the years are increasing. As a number of human-elephant conflict cases are increasing, and the economic value of that crop also increasing. So I would say that human-elephant conflict is happening simply because multiple reasons. There are certain areas where habitat loss is being the reason. There are certain areas fragmentation being the reason. There are certain areas where weed proliferation is the reason. So in some area, combination of all these are together, playing a major role, and therefore conflict is over the years increasing, and the compensation payment or ex gratia payment also increasing over the years. Apart from compensation or ex gratia payment, Project Elephant also take up the initiative to permanently solve the problem, like taking a trench, which is a barrier for animal movement or animal entering into agriculture field. Trench, and then you have gully plugging plus the electric fencing, and this is again electric fencing provided by Forest Department. And those are some kind of a measure for reducing the conflict. Apart from that, when some of the males are getting used to conflict, males, unlike female elephants, even if their home is intact, when they get habituated to crop raiding, even their home is intact, they may cause considerable damage to agriculture. And therefore, if there are chronic crop rider, those kind of chronic crop rider being captured and brought to captivity. And this is the anti-poaching sheds. That is all about the elephants in the wild. And now let us just look at the culture of Asian elephants with India or Asia. Since the elephant was tamed about 4,000 years ago, also being a largest terrestrian animal, it has played an important role in human society. So it was used in military, and it is very much a part of the religious functions of India, religious and cultural ceremonies of India, and it has played a major role in economic and biodiversity conservation. These are the major role of this one. Elephant, during Maharaja period, elephant is the most powerful animal, hence more the elephant, easier the victory. And there are so many Maharajas had so many elephants. Mughal emperor Mughal emperor are more known for having more number of elephants. Jahangir during 17th century owned 12,000 elephants. He himself alone had something around 12,000 elephants, and his empire had about 40,000 elephants. And that number, which is 40,000 elephants, is more than today the population what we have in the wild as well as in captivity. So therefore, our population in the past must have been much more than what we have is clearly indicated. When you had something like 40,000 elephants in captivity alone, imagine how many elephants must have been there in the wild to capture 40,000 elephants and keep it in the captivity. And this is again Buddhism. Like elephants not only had this one role in Hindu, also Buddhism. Tune Maya dreams that a white elephant descended into her womb before Gautama born. So therefore, Buddhism has got, Asian elephant has got close this one with affinity with Buddhism, and also with Hindu. Ganesha symbolizes learning and wealth in Hindu belief. He is also the remover of all obstacles, can be a powerful symbol in conservation of ourselves. So because of this religious attitude, now we are able to today preserve or conserve the elephants. It is because of this religious reason affected community still look upon elephant as a god and do not take a revenge. There are family which are living inside the forest with whom when I interviewed, they said that it is a god, elephant is a god, and whatever he needs he will take, and what is left over by him is our annual food. Those people used to say, and those people do not take much revenge against the elephant, or they go for shooting elephant or poisoning elephant simply because of the cultural religious reason was the community. And it also has a cultural role, as I know. It is linked with the Hindu. A lot of temples, Hindu temples today, having elephants for cultural reasons. Economic reason, like in the past, after the use of elephants in war, much of the elephants being used for timber logging. And after the timber logging being used, stopped, ban of timber logging by Supreme Court of India, now elephants are used for joyride, and some of the elephants are also used for this one perambulation of natural habitat. And therefore, elephant has elephant played a major role as in economic this one also. So wherever elephants are ranging, those are the optimal or biodiversity richest area. Western Ghat, Eastern Himalaya are two among the 34 global biodiversity hotspots. Elephant being an umbrella species, conservation of elephant means conservation of biodiversity. So once we ensure that enough habitat is provided or enough conservation measures are taken for conservation of elephants, and the entire biodiversity is conserved. So that is what it is an umbrella species. It will take care of all other biodiversity which is there within the range. So we have among the 3 biodiversity hotspot what India has, among the 34 biodiversity hotspot what the world has, 2 of them are falling under the major elephant habitat. And therefore, conservation of elephant means conservation of biodiversity. So why do we conserve biodiversity? What is that to do with biodiversity? Biodiversity is that Uh, Only through biodiversity conservation, the ecological function of climate stability, clean air and water, erosion control that are essential to safeguard economic growth, social stability, and quality of livelihood of several million people living in India can be preserved. And therefore, realizing the Asian elephant's role, India has declared the elephant as a national heritage animal by 2011, and that is what that has helped conserving Asian elephant and thus biodiversity for our betterment. Thank you.